Welcome back to the garden with Autumn. It's midsummer and things have completely changed around here. Some plants are growing beyond my wildest dreams, while others, well, didn't quite make it. I'm giving you a full, honest tour of what went well, what went wrong, and what's to come next. Some things that grew really well for us so far are our tomatoes, our squash, and our cucumbers. They're doing great in this first garden bed. As you can see, we've gotten some beautiful yellow squash coming through. Some babies are on their way. Our tomatoes are finally growing in. They're looking really good. They're getting really tall and they're growing up the trellises so beautifully. And we have some cucumbers over here that are looking good. I am playing pollinator, so I'm really hoping that I am pollinating these well enough. Obviously the squash I got, and that's doing well. The cucumbers I'm a little nervous about. They are growing, but I hope they don't end up dying and falling off, which is what happens if they're not pollinated. And so since we don't have a lot of pollinators out here yet, we're gonna plan on getting honeybees. I am doing that. So every morning I come out here and I look for any female flowers that have blossomed and I pollinate them with their males. And so hopefully I am doing a good enough job so that we can have some harvest later this season. But this is looking really well. Some of the plants in here that did not do well for me is my beans and my peas. So my bean plants have died off. They were right here where these little stakes are. I've got one holding on and it's got a tiny little flower and a little beanstalk right there. So this guy's holding on, but definitely struggling. And then my peas, they gave me like 1 or 2 pea pods and they just didn't do well. And I'm not exactly sure what happened there. I don't know if it's just like the wind and the heat, even though we put the sunshade, but they just didn't survive. Our other garden bed, the one that I just planted, and my plants were not looking very good when I initially planted them, but I knew that they would enjoy their new home once they were able to kind of settle in, and boy do they. They have really flourished in here. Everything is growing and looks great. I definitely planted a lot more in here than I was anticipating. However, we've had some issues with our trailer and we're not able to go and get more wood to build out the other cages for our other garden beds. So I didn't have much of a choice. I needed to get my seedlings in the garden beds so that I could hopefully have somewhat of a harvest this fall. So I have some broccoli here, then I have some kale there, we've got some cabbage over there, and then I've got some lettuce plants, and then in between I've got some pepper plants. So I've got some sweet peppers, I've got some bell peppers, I've got 1 tomato plant there, and then I've got some celery over here, which is kind of just an experiment to see how that goes. But I know this bed has got a lot in it and I don't know how as things grow how it's all going to turn out. I'm just going to be hopeful that I'm able to get a good harvest out of all of this. But yeah, next year it will not be as crowded, allowing for my broccoli and cauliflower and leafy greens to have more space, and then my peppers and stuff would be in a different bed. But like I said, because of a situation with our trailer, we're not able to get more wood, so I had to make do with what we had. So these are the only 2 beds that we are going to have this season. Unfortunately, it is half of what we were pushing for, but everything out here takes a lot longer, and we've been experiencing some unfortunate things with our trailer, which doesn't allow us to go get more wood or more soil, so we make do with what we got. Over here, I had gotten a little piece of a plant that my father-in-law was growing as a sweet potato. So he put a sweet potato in water next to his kitchen window, and that thing just took off. And so when I was there back in April, I took a cutting of it and I brought it back here. It's okay, the bug. I had it in water for a while, and then I planted it in the tower. And I am experimenting with doing one plant, and as it grows, you add in more layers of soil and hay, and you keep building off of that. And the idea with that is that you get more production from one plant. I've seen the potato towers where they do the spuds all around on the outside, and they build up, and then that grows out of the tower and becomes this beautiful green covered tower. I did it a little different since I had the potato plant started, and this thing has gone crazy. I got one little leaf poking out there. I've layered it up as it's grown, adding more soil to it, and I keep it covered with my shade cloth, but it is growing like crazy. It's like a little jungle in here, which is really cool. It keeps trying to crawl out. Back in May, we had the USDA guy come out and kind of like tour our property to see if they would be able to help us with applying for some grants. One of them is a hightunnel grant, and the conditions in order to qualify for a hightunnel is that you have to have crops growing in the area that you would like your hightunnel to be. So initially we thought we could use our current garden space and they could see us growing crops, and then we could like place our hightunnel where we want, because the idea is to have our outdoor garden over here, but also a hightunnel so that I can extend the grow season. I can also keep like leafy greens and my peas and beans kind of safe from the elements. I could also start my seedlings in them, opposed to trying to do it in the cabin. So we built these little garden beds from the half browns. They were literally just like thrown together. I used these stakes and I marked a 40 by 20 space, which would be kind of like the footprint for the hightunnel. And then we just made these long beds, garden beds. Another requirement to qualify for the hightunnel is that you have to be growing in native soil. So it can be in a garden bed, but it has to be only a certain depth, allowing the roots to grow into the native soil. So I have one going right now because I had plants that I needed to get into the ground. All I did here was Andrew's been cutting down these trees, and this one will be one of the next ones, and underneath it there's a lot of juniper needles and just regular tree debris that has been sitting there and composting on its own, and it's like really rich, dark, kind of like compost, like pine compost, I guess, with the juniper berries and everything. And so I took some of that and I laid it down, filled up probably like an inch, and then I took some of our compost and put it in there. And then I don't know if you're able to see through this, but I just threw in some of I believe these are the cantaloupes that I have, but they were upstairs on the balcony of our cabin, and they kept getting munched on at night by mice, and they just were not looking very good. So I put them in here. They are looking really good. Obviously, I have to pollinate them, so when they do start to blossom, I will get in here and work on that. But for now, I got this going. I have to get these other two going, and I think what I'm going to do here, since it is getting cooler, is probably plant some leafy greens. That way I can put the sunshade over it like this and just let it be. I don't need to attend to it. I could just let it grow, and I'm hoping that that will be enough for us to qualify for a hightunnel, because that would be a game changer out here. here on our cabin balcony. I still have my green tunnel, or tower, I should say. When we had gone to Phoenix the end of June, the birds came in and they ate all of my lettuce, but it is making a comeback and looking pretty good. My basil is doing amazing, smells so good, and the dill really took off this year. I've made fresh tzatziki sauce several times. It is so good. It's such a game changer when you're using fresh herbs. And then I have some cilantro, but that seems to not be doing so well right now. I also noticed that the mice have come over here at night and have gotten to it, unfortunately. But my herbs in there that I grew are doing good. I did notice though that the mouse got to my chives, so I wasn't able to actually have any of those. But everything else I've had, and they're really good. I also had an extra pot that was still in the cabin of tomato plants, because my initial seedlings were eaten by these mice. That's what they like to do. So I had planted another round of them. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera set up here so I could show you. Okay, there you go. So I recently just put the tomatoes in this planter box. So these Andrew made when we were back in Cali at our Long Beach house, and I haven't really used them much this year, but I decided that I would put my tomatoes in here. Last year when I had my garden up here, and the ravens got to it, the only thing they didn't touch was the tomatoes. So I'm hoping that the tomatoes being out here will be okay. I did notice that a mouse has already gotten to one of my plants, just picked it up clear, nibbled it off. And then I have this viney guy. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I'm just gonna let it grow and I'll transplant it. Most likely this one will be going into the beds that we have back there, but I'm just gonna leave it here for right now, get it used to being out in the elements. And then I have my loquat plants that I planted from seeds that I got from my my mother and father-in-law's house. They have a loquat, and I brought them back in April as well, germinate them, and they're growing. And these I want to get out into what we're going to be calling our mini orchard. So this area in here is going to be our orchard where we'll plant some fruit trees. So it's going to be like where the path going down into our trail is, and then around cutting in here. So I'm going to be taking this loquat today and putting it in the ground, and this is going to be Autumn's little loquat, something that I planted from seed the year that she was born. Hopefully it survives, and in 10 years we can talk about it. Okay, so like I was saying when I was up on the cabin, so this area that goes around here is going to be our orchard. Andrew has already started doing like a rock path, which will help to kind of like stop the water. So our property is on a slight grate, so it goes slightly down, so all of the water when we get these downpours with monsoon season flushes down behind me. So we're hoping as we build this area up that these little rock borders that also just like look really nice will help to hold some of that water and any settlement that is also going down with the water, and we can build this up to have a nice topsoil and some ground cover, and then our fruit trees. So this is the spot that I've picked to do the loquat. There it is there. So the black on the ground here, that is from what Andrew picked from underneath this tree once he cut down the branches, and he's been kind of like spreading it over to help cover up some of the heavily dirted areas, to hold in moisture so we can get some of this grass. As you can see, we've had tons of water the last 2 weeks and everything is beautifully green. So that looks great. We love that, right? Opposed to it being dry and dusty. It looks so nice with the green. So we're trying to help that natural grass grow. And it just is better for our soil, obviously. So I'm gonna get the shovel and try to dig a hole here. Our ground is clay, and this is probably gonna be a little bit of a tedious task. I'm hoping that the soil is soft enough since we've been having a lot of rain, but we're gonna find out. My little loquat. That was not what I was expecting to happen, but okay. All right, here is my little trees. There's a couple of them. We're just gonna kind of spread them out in this hole and see how that goes. Okay. Put our little sign back there. And that looks good. Now I need to protect them. So I'm gonna get a little round cage that Andrew had built initially for the compost to put around them, stake it in, water them, and we should be good. Okay. There is my plants in the ground. There is my cage for protection, and then I'm going to use these stakes to hold the cage so that the wind doesn't fly it, take it away, make it fly. I don't know what I was saying there with fly it, but yeah. And by the way, if you wanted to get this awesome MILF Mom shirt, you can find it on our website. Doesn't mean what you think it means. It stands for Mindful, Intentional, Learned Femivore. So if you are a homesteading mom, you're more aware of what goes into our diets, your food, growing your own food, making things from scratch, you would be a mindful, intentional, learned femivore. So check it out on our website. All right, that looks good. It's sturdy. The wind's not gonna blow it away. It'll help protect it from the rabbits and the cows as it grows. All that's left to do is water it, and we're good. All right, that is our first fruit tree in what is going to be our orchard planted, and it has a pretty significant meaning because it is as old as autumn that I germinized from seeds from my parent-in-law's yeah, house. So again, hoping in like 10 years we'll have this beautiful tree that we've had since she was born, and it'll be fruitful, and we'll be able to just come out here and enjoy some fruit and sit under it and read and hang out. And yeah, it's another big step towards transforming our property into our vision. It's another step towards getting this into a productive farm, ranch. We've got lots of goals, and we're really excited because things are starting to take shape slowly, but we'll get there. Like Andrew likes to say, a little bit every day towards our goals goes a long way. So here's another big step in the right direction for us. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and seeing a little update on our off-grid high desert garden. Stay tuned as we move into fall, and I will do an update on what we're able to harvest and what I do with that harvest. Hopefully it's plentiful. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all of your support. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It's the best way to support us. You can also check out our website. We do have some good merch on there. And we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.